week number 5 of I Know It Sounds Crazy, but It's True. Today I am out here fishing at one of the canals, and which is perfect because today's Bible lesson and story is all about fishing. So today's lesson and story, it's all about God will provide, and you're going to learn all about that through a story about fishing in the Bible. So I have a question. Have any of you ever gone through something before in your life and you had no idea how you're going to get what you needed for it? Maybe you heard your parents talking about how your electricity or your water might be being shut off because they didn't have enough money to pay for it, or maybe your cable or internet was going to be shut off because y'all didn't have enough money to pay for it. Well, today we're talking all about how God will provide for us. So I hope y'all enjoyed the rest of today's lesson as we learn how God is our provider. So today's Bible story is found in Matthew chapter 17. And in this story, it's a story of how Jesus and his disciples are going down to this town called Capernaum. And while they were over there, this temple tax collector, went over to Peter and asked him, "Hey, don't you and Jesus, your master, pay the temple tax?" So Peter said, "Of course we do." And then at that point, he probably realized that he didn't have the money on him. So he went over to go tell Jesus, "Hey, we got a problem." Because you see, Peter, he had left his fishing business behind before he followed Jesus. Peter was a fisherman, so he made his money from fishing. But now that he wasn't a fisherman, how was he supposed to make money anymore? So Peter, he goes over to a house nearby where Jesus was staying at. And as soon as he walked in there, Jesus started talking to Peter and asked him, "Hey, who do kings collect their taxes from? Is it from the foreigners who they've captured, from the foreign lands that they've captured, or is it from their own citizens?" And was asking Peter all about taxes before Peter was able to even ask Jesus about where they were going to get that tax money from. And then Jesus told him, "All right, for your temple tax, this is what I want you to go do, Peter. I want you to go, and I want you to cast your line into the nearby lake, and when you go, the very first fish that you catch on your hook, go ahead, look inside of its mouth, and you'll find a coin, and that'll pay for our tax." So Peter, he went on down to the nearby lake, and he caught a fish, and lo and behold, the very first fish that he caught, out of its mouth, he pulled out a coin, which was enough for him to pay for the temple tax. So this story, it's really awesome. It teaches us how God will provide for us, and sometimes it's even in a crazy way. Man, can you imagine what Peter's reaction must have been to that crazy plan? He went and he obeyed, and so he ended up bringing probably a slimy, stinky coin to the temple tax collector. You probably got a kick out of that watching the tax collector's reaction. So I hope you enjoyed this story. And we're about to go ahead and start up with the lesson. Alright guys, now it's time for today's lesson, and the lesson today is called Gone Fishing. So, if you remember in the story, Peter, he had himself a big problem. He had to go and pay the tax collector some money because he told him, "Yeah, me and Jesus, we make sure to pay the temple tax." But Peter, he didn't have the money to pay at the time. And maybe you found yourself in a situation before where you had a big problem and you needed a way to provide for it. Maybe there was a time where for school you needed something for it. Maybe it was a new laptop, a new PE uniform, and your family told you, "Look, I don't know if we can provide. I don't know if we have enough money to buy that." And those times, they can be pretty scary, and there's a couple ways that people act whenever that happens to them. One way that they act is sometimes people freak out. They're like, "Oh my goodness, I have no idea how we're gonna do it. I don't know what I'm gonna do." And other people, they act all scared half to death. They're like, I don't know. If I'm not able to pay it, then I'm gonna look crazy. Everybody's gonna make fun of me. I'm gonna have to change my name and move out of the school because they'll make fun of me for the rest of my life. I don't know. But in the Bible story, Peter didn't act in any of those two ways, because when we act like that, that doesn't help solve the problem. That isn't the solution. But instead, from Peter's reaction, we can learn exactly what we should do whenever we have a problem and we need a provider for it. And the first thing that Peter did was, when he had a need, he went straight to Jesus. Jesus, he's the one that we can rely on. And Peter, he didn't go trying to figure out how he was going to provide for himself. He didn't start off by saying, okay, we're going to have a bake sale, going to make brownies, going to throw a magic show, going to raise up the couple coins that we need for the tax, and then we're going to be good. Or I'm going to go and ask everybody to donate a couple of cents until we're able to pay it off. No. Instead, Peter went straight to Jesus. And you know what was awesome? Jesus, he knew exactly what Peter needed for his situation. And that's amazing, because Jesus, he knows exactly what we need, even before we say a thing. Sometimes we may wonder, God, are you there? Are you listening to me? Do you see what I need? I have no idea how I'm going to do this. But you know what? Jesus, God, he is awesome. And the fact that he knows exactly what we need before we even need it, before we can even ask him. And what's awesome is that Jesus had a way for Peter to be able to get what he needed, because God, he is our provider. And that's the second part, or the second thing that we can learn from this, is that God is our provider.